Oh, hi, welcome back. Yes, I'm going to now talk about me going to my mother's. And I traveled by myself this time from Livingston to Kitwe. And I remember actually arriving in Kitwe and waiting in the waiting room in the railway station. And a police officer coming. And I think I had a telephone number. And in those days, things still seemed to go okay in Zambia. There was the services were working well to a point, and so I could actually go to a telephone. I don't know whether it was a telephone kiosk or whether I asked someone, a railway man, to make a phone call for me to say that the train has arrived, and I was told that someone is on their way to come and pick me up. So I was picked up and I was taken to my mother's house. It was the same house where the policeman had raped me. And what had happened there was I think Fanny, her cousin, had come back to Livingston, and I sort of took her place, so to speak. And to start with, I was sort of, grateful that my mother had called me, and I was going to this is actually happening, and I was going to go and go to a better school than remaining at night school. And but things changed very quickly, because that week when I thought, I'm not going to hang around in my mother's house for any length of time because I'm supposed to be taken to this boarding school. The whole week, my mother didn't say hello, how are you, and how was your journey? So the only person who was feeding me bits of information was the house servant, Kelly. Kelly seemed to have a better relationship. It was much more settled and feeling much more accepted around the house. I felt like an intruder. And I suppose I'd say, in all fairness, maybe I would feel like that anywhere else I go, because I have a belief now, or I'm proper brainwashed, that I'm not a very good person. I'm not a likable person. So, I'm the person that someone will offend me, and then it will be me apologizing to them for getting them in that situation. It will be me being wronged, and then it will be me compensating that person, even in money or whatever I have to give, because I believe I caused it. And it's always like that in my life, where I am conscious of doing something wrong, and I know that, I don't want to do anything bad to people. And if I actually did, again, I'll be the one offering to compensate. But it didn't matter whether they done it to me or not. I would still be the one offering to compensate and being very apologetic. So I'm saying, the reason I'm waffling on about that is that, maybe it was not because my mother had ignored me. Maybe because I had just believed that she wasn't gonna, I don't know, that I was a bad person, and whatever happened was because of me and what I'm like. So my mother did not come to say, hello, how was your journey? And the plan for you here is to go to school, and this is what was going to happen. There was no communication. There was no information. So the whole week went, and then it started that Kelly started to show me how to clean the house. And this is where I would, he said, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you must be very quiet so nobody hears you. You clean and polish the bathroom. You clean and polish the living room. You clean and polish the kitchen. By a certain time, you make breakfast, and by such and such a time, it should be on the table. And normally it was boiled egg, bread, jungle oats, porridge, and those were for my mother and her children. After they're done and gone, Kelly would make maize meal porridge, and that's what I ate with him. Although having said that, Kelly did have there was the servants' quarters, a 2-bedroom servants' quarters where Kelly and his wife lived. So his wife should have actually got up and made breakfast for Kelly as well. But I think he made it so that he cooked cooked, he made that porridge when he came into work, because he would have known that I haven't eaten anything. I wouldn't be allowed to touch what I've prepared for my mother and her children. And Kelly had to teach me how to do all of this. And now I didn't question as to, did I come here to be doing this work, or have I come here to go to school? But it went into the second week, and I was getting to know the routines properly, and I thought, it looks like this is going to be my life. And then, Kelly said to me, we were coming into the third week, he said, oh, you know that there's going to be a special school opening up at Maiteneke. And this is for people who have failed or grade 7 to go to secondary school. You could just go there, and special school, it's in a primary school setting. And, hopefully when you get to Form 3, you're going to get better results, and then you will go to a proper secondary school for Form 4. Excuse me, something is whistling in my ear. So, I thought, so how do I get to go to this Maiteneke, special school? And, Kelly said, oh, I'll find out some information. Now, I'm not sure whether it was my mother who had found out about this information, and then because she had to pass on information to Kelly to talk to me, because she wasn't coming near me to talk to me about anything or be in any close proximity with me, because every time that happened, she was heaving. And for the first few months, I just believed it was about me. And she would she would go, what is that smell? And then she would just rush to the toilet and vomit. And then eventually she started saying that there's a smell of fish in this place. And it was always when I was around. But over the years, I started believing myself that my mother will vomit because she's smelling fish. It's about fish. So whenever we were having fish, we cooked it outside in the garage. So that the smell doesn't go anywhere near in the house. So when she comes in, she doesn't have to smell the fish, but she still vomited. And it was, I suppose if I wasn't there, she probably wouldn't have vomited. I don't know. Maybe she did, because I wasn't there. How could I know? But that's how it was. So anyway, I started going to the Maiteneke school, and my mother didn't ask. But Kelly was the person that knew everything in the house. And again, she, because my mother left her a bedroom open to be cleaned and, that sort of thing. And Kelly knew where there was certain things. And he said to me, oh, look, there's a bundle of grey material there. It's the sort that they used to make police uniforms. I'm not quite sure why my mother had it, or whether that's, whether she wanted to make her own style uniform or something. I don't know. But he said that if you take so much and cut and take to the tailor at the market to make you a skirt for school, and then what are we going to do about school? That's for the skirt. What about the shirt? I needed a white shirt and a red tie. Kelly said, oh, well, we can do that by selling cabbages. Now, my mother's yard was massive, and she always used to get prisoners to dig the garden and grow cabbages. So there was a sea of cabbages. You could see it, a whole field full of cabbages. So we would fill that up, cut a fence, because we were in a wire fence where nobody would come in. The only way to get to our house was to come in via the police station gate. Because my mother was at the time chief inspector. And so Kelly had apparently arranged, he'd arranged for the marketeers. So we would fill like 200 kg sacks of burlap sacks of cabbages and pass them through a hole in the garden, in the wire fence that was cut off with pliers, and just where enough for the sack to go through. And then they'll pass their money. And of course, the money would have been cheaper than what they would have bought wholesale. And that is the money that bought me the shirt, the white shirt for school. I didn't know where to get a uniform. And this is where I found a bit bizarre, because I think partly maybe my mother did have an input in getting that school, and Kelly was just making stories up to me. I'm not quite sure, but then I do remember my mother coming and handing me, actually it wasn't her, it was my sister Gloria, handing me a red tie, and it was after my mother had come in, and so I thought I automatically assumed it came from my mother. Because I suppose that's the only way my mother gave me anything. It was via somebody else, not face to face. Here is this. So I struggled there to build any kind of relationship, because I found out I realized that it's probably never going to happen, because we're very rarely in the same room, and if we are, she's saying, "What is that smell? Go and shower. You smell bad." And it doesn't matter if I'm coming straight from the shower, she would still say the same thing. It doesn't matter if I was coming from a bath and I've just had a bath, she would still say the same thing. So I learned to sit outside away from her. I was free around the house when she was at work. But after a certain time, when I see and I hear the car coming at the back, I realize that now, I need to either stay in the kitchen where I'm finishing off cooking or doing something, or if I've already done it, I go and sit outside and wait to be cold to say the food is not on the table. Why is it not on the table? I didn't want to put it on the table in case it goes cold, because she will, fling it at me or something. So that is how it was. Now I started attending school, and my demeanor and maybe my thought process changed. Because I found myself failing to focus. And I suppose maybe it wasn't the right time for me to go to my mother's. Maybe my grandmother was right. Because, it doesn't matter whether you understand how you feel. It doesn't matter what you suppress. There must, everybody's change points and developmental points, they do take place. So I suppose I was becoming sort of hormonal, type. I was having, my hormones were starting, and teenage hormones. So I don't know. I found that I couldn't concentrate, but I was also like always in a daydream state, and that is the only way. It was like lock out the whole world and just have a dream in your head and just stare into nothing and just sit there. That was peaceful, and that is how I wanted my life to be. So in class, I was sitting there. The teacher thinks I'm listening. I'm the only one not making noise. I had made a friend called Diana. I think she was called Diana Banda. Now, Diana, I envied her because, I'm not quite sure, but I seem to make friends whose parents love them. But I actually don't see the interaction that I need to see that actually made it that way. I just see how they present. Diana presented very confident. Diana was extremely clean. Her hair was immaculate. Her shoes were polished to a shine. The way my mother used to want me to polish her shoes, because now I had to learn how to polish police shoes, how to spit polish them, how to iron police uniforms. And because she was chief inspector, how to put her medals on her collar. And I remember first time I did them back to front, and they didn't look right. Oh my Lord, I could have died. She really had a good go at me, but she didn't slap me. My mother became an emotional abuser rather than a physical one. She said things that cut you, that you never forget. She just cut your soul. 1 word, 2 words, and then she'll go at it. She won't give up. She'll keep having a go at you. And then she'll keep telling everybody what kind of idiot you are. So everybody's now got a perception that you are just this village idiot that will never amount to anything. So in the village, I was a whore. Now with my mother, I'm the village idiot who smells very unclean, no amount to anything. And I got used to that. And I got used to knowing that if she has visitors, I need to make myself scarce. But I had to be within earshot so that if she wants me to do something, I can quickly get there and get it done. I daren't dilly-dally because that's not right. So I was going to school. I was getting up in 4 o'clock every morning, cleaning the house, doing the breakfast thing, letting everybody else have a bath, and then I would go in after they finished. Sometimes, I thought to myself, I'll get up at 4 o'clock, I'll have a bath, and then by the time I finished, my knees were stained with floor polish because I was on my knees shining the floor. And so before I started going to school, I used to have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, do all the chores in these rooms what I was supposed to do. And then once they've gone, then I clean the whole house. Then I will have a bath, and then I prepare lunch. But now I was going to school. I was having to get up early, do the same chores, and wait for them to finish having a bath. Then I jump in the bath, and then I go to school. But sometimes I found I was really, really pushing it. So I used to think, well, I think I'll bath before I start the chores. And then I was like, I'm not clean enough now. How can I go to school looking like that? So it was a bit like that. Now, coming back to Diana was very presentable. And I used to say to her, how did you get your shoes so shiny? She says, oh, my dad does them for me. I said, and your hair? She was so polished. She says, oh, my mom does that for me. I said, and you wear makeup? She had like powder on her, and eyeliner and stuff like that, but didn't wear lipstick because I don't think you're allowed to wear lipstick in school. And she says, yes, my mom does that. And I'm thinking to myself, you actually have that kind of touchy relationship with your mom that she's actually putting makeup on your face. She says, yeah, don't you? I said, no, we don't. That didn't go any further. But occasionally, my mother will have come back when she's come back for whatever reasons at the house when I wasn't in school and Diana was there. She would call Diana and she would say to Diana, Diana, you are here. She said, she would say, I'm having a hairdresser to do my hair, but I think you're here and I know I've seen your hair looking good. Can you come and do my hair? So I couldn't even say, oh, that's my friend you're calling to touch you. I will sit near with her. I had to, still go away within earshot and let Diana do that because Diana didn't smell. Diana was clean. Diana was lovable. And that is how it was. It was year in, year out of constantly hearing things that were not very kind. And I remember once there was her deputy, the inspector. My mother was chief inspector, and then there was the inspector. It was a Tonga man, I can't remember his name. And he'd come in, and because they had to talk about something, so I quickly, I was supposed to bring chairs out for them, so I quickly brought the chairs out, and I went, and he noticed that it was me putting the chairs out, and he says, gosh, that young girl, she looks a lot like you. Who is she? And my mother just could not help herself. I thought she would probably say, oh, it's my daughter. Oh, no, she says, oh, well, my cousin, the one that died, you covered me when I went to the funeral. Oh, yes. And she says, that is her daughter. And I used to send money to support her in the village. But I thought maybe it's better that she comes here to learn other skills in town and go to school. She says, but I'm having a lot of trouble with her because she is, so feral. You cannot shake the village out of her. She just does not know anything. Oh, that's a shame, he said. So I just decided to try and walk a little bit further towards the servants' quarter, so I didn't hear so much about the detail of their chit-chat. But I thought, here I am, literally almost in front of you, and you're denying me. It doesn't matter. I'm thinking to myself, God knows. And, so it was constantly some of that. It was constantly, day in, day out. Sometimes it was, I was supposed to do something, maybe something that needed instructions to be read before I did it. And nobody has shown me. And nobody has actually said, oh, what you're doing, you will find the instructions on the back of a bottle, or on the back of a tin, or on the back of a packet, and you read that. But also sometimes, even if I was able to read that I wouldn't connect it to, oh, they are talking about this thing. That's how you do it, because I haven't had an example of it. It's like I need an example, and I've struggled with that throughout my life as well, because even when I have come to this country and trying to learn about how people interact with each other, you have soap operas here, and people would sit in front of a telly and watch the soap operas, and so you think, all right, these people are basically playing life, which goes on in everyday lives in most people's houses. But you find them that, they do certain things, and they've said something. I mean, one example is they say, oh, we're going to go out to the club or something. Oh, okay. And then the next thing you see them, they're either in the club or they're setting off from home going to the club, and they're all dressed up. So when you've had blockages in your mind and where the thought process has been so distorted, trying to figure out that actually, that was maybe last week when they decided they're going to go today to the club, and it said they'll go at 2:00. So maybe from 12 o'clock, someone has been in the shower and they've groomed themselves, and maybe 1:30, they decided they'll set off and go meet at the club at 1:00. That is a very small, ordinary detail that nobody can think anyone needs to actually be informed about. But it's very crucial for someone who's had so many gaps like me, who has lived under a blanket of shame and not look and think about other people's thought processes and how things are supposed to be thought through. So, I wouldn't have known. If someone doesn't say to me, well, we are going, I'll probably think, well, that means I have to get ready, or things like that. But okay, maybe I will get ready, but what do I wear to that kind of thing? No one has told me. I might go as far as thinking, well, that means I need to get ready, or that means I just have to be there, or I just have to wait for someone to pick me up, but if they give me a time. But I won't think about how am I supposed to present, and that sort of thing. So there's an awful lot of distortion in my life that I some things I can work out, and something I'm thinking, oh God, here you go again, you idiot, you village idiot, yeah, definitely, you're never going to amount to anything. So, and my mind became frustrated and clogged up with survival and daydreaming to get through the day, because that was the only way. And when the opportunity came to have a boyfriend, it was like, wow, this is what I'm going to do. Because I suppose at that age, they didn't, we're talking about police officers here. They didn't actually think, well, this is a child who is going to school. They were still thinking about making boyfriends and girlfriends. And the man who had raped me, he was working at the same, obviously still working at the same police station as my mother. And I remember him making comments as I passed, going to the market, because you have to pass through the police station, sometimes in front of the offices. And in the reception, police officers are standing there. I would watch and see you. And he kept saying, oh, that's my girlfriend. I've been there or something. And I don't know what he was talking about. I just assumed that he was talking about, he had sex with me. He wasn't saying he raped me, but it was like a consensual relationship type thing. And then there was this man called Lungu, who also a police officer that also worked there, who started saying, oh, well, I'm going to take her off you because I think she's more for me. And one of the things I never learned is not to accept presents that have a different meaning to what an ordinary present would be. It was a bit like when Josephine used to accept those bars of soap and Vaseline and biscuits. She never touched any of that stuff. I suppose not because she didn't want to eat the biscuits. I think because the wise women of the old wise women in the village was whispering to her that if you do this, it means you've accepted. So if you're still not sure, you don't touch them, you don't eat them. So, Lungu would give like a £10 note to my sister Gloria and say, he'll put it in an envelope, or sometimes just a £10 note. He'll say, go and give that to your sister, and I'll take it. I'll take it, and I'll just buy biscuits and sweets and stuff. I remember once I bought myself some body creams because I thought, oh well, everybody else is using creams, not the Vaseline, ointment, the thick ointment, the thick Vaseline. I think that's what children use. So I'm getting on now. I'm becoming a bigger girl, so I need to be using lotion. So I bought myself some lotion, and I hid in my drawer. So I used to do that, and I didn't realize that was accepting. So it was then all over the place that he was my boyfriend. We never came face to face to have a talk about anything to do with boyfriend and girlfriend, but he would send for someone who was a police officer, and I assume had a certain level of education. Now I'm thinking, I don't think I was the only village idiot. Because how do you then assume that just because someone has accepted your £10, that now that is going to be your wife? So, yeah, that is, in general, that's sort of how things were going for me. All right, I think it's 26 minutes. I'm going to leave it there. And I will talk about... I'll talk about when I was the sort of clubs that I had joined when I was in school, and the kind of things that we did, and socializing in my school. All right. Okay. Ta-ra.